I'm in my flip flops and my cutoff, dude. I'm zooming.
Well, I've got no pants on. Look. No, I'm kidding. All righty, mate. Let's get into it. Hi, everyone. It's Den here. Welcome back to the School of Light for another image breakdown. The image breakdown is a series I'm putting together. The first set of these images, I'm plucking people out of the light painting community that I think will inspire you. I think add some real magic to the community. People that I feel close to, that I have a connection with. And Johnny Griffin is certainly one of those guys. Hi, Johnny.
Hey, boss man.
So Johnny and I are going to have a chat about the image I'm putting up on the screen here. And it's a magical photograph. And what we do is I get Johnny to chat to us about the technique. He's going to talk us through the making of it. But one of the great things about Johnny Griffin, and I love saying this about some people, but over the years, Johnny Griffin has been one of those guys who just is this sort of compulsive creator, ideas guy. He always comes up with fresh and new things and is a maker. But more importantly, and I think what I really enjoy about you, mate, is you're a giver. You've never hesitated at all to develop ideas and come up with knowledge, but you just share it instantly. There's no hesitation to be open with people about the how, the why. And through this little recording, we're going to refer to some tutorials you've done. I think there's even plans on how to build the ridiculously complicated machine that has made this image. So that's the first thing I want to say is just thank you, mate, for being.
I appreciate it. That's why I love the community so much. Why I fell in love, because the whole community's given.
Yeah.
They teach techniques. I'm blessed with some engineer background. So, for me to build something or, to think outside of the artist box, I go to the mechanical, and I'm not a very good artist. So, for me, I turn my body into a pixel stick. I make a tool that all I got to do is move a little bit, and I've got fire, I've got wings, I've got, my light bars are all mechanical.
Yeah. But, that's the thing. I think, as you know, I manufacture and sell light painting tools, but what's really important for me is that before that, I always love to share with people that the joy of light painting, where we came from was this amazing creative thing where we just made shit. Like you couldn't just go online and buy a light painting tool. You had to do what you've done there, is figure out how to solder things.
Plastics.
Yeah. You got it. Yeah. Oh gosh. So look, I'm really grateful that you've taken the time to hang out with us. I think over the series of the School of Light, we're going to spend a bit of time hanging out because I love your ingenuity. And when I look at this incredible photograph here, it just screams that to me. And so what I would love you to do for us, mate, is firstly tell us what it is, because and I normally pause people to say this, but I just want to stress to everyone that the image you're looking at on the screen here is out of the camera. There's no post-processing of mirroring things. This has been created by the way Johnny's going to tell us around about now, big fella. So share with us the method and then step us through how you made this particular one. Thank you, buddy.
Well, what the Spiro Jib is basically the old kids game Spirograph.
Yeah.
Where you had two gears of different, right? You had different ratio gears and you made the little flowers.
Yeah.
Well, all I done, instead of having the gear mesh to the inside of the gear, is I put a fixed gear with a chain to a moving gear.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Beautiful. Thank you.
She's right here.
Yeah.
So you got a fixed set of gears on top. And I'll have to back it up, I think, for that.
Yeah, perfect.
And then I've got a rotating gear here.
Yeah.
And then I've got a light bar that sits here. And as I spin it, it moves it.
Yeah.
And because it is chain drive, it has a memory to it. And on this one, if you'll notice, I have 3 gears up here, 7 gears down here. So I have a total of 21 gear combinations that I can change ratios to.
Yeah.
those patterns that you see there is every light on a light bar lit though.
Yeah.
The image you're showing, I wanted to see if it would repeat itself through 2 full cycles, which that one did pretty good to considering how many lights are actually lit in the image.
When you told me that, when I looked at it, I didn't immediately notice it. And there's every now and then it's a tiny thing, but I think what it does is it shows just how incredibly accurate that device is that you've got there.
Right. Well, the stand itself is in 3 sections, and there's a little wobble there.
Yeah.
You're manually holding it and cranking it, so there's a lot of places that it can move. So that was more of a technique for me to stabilize. I mean, the gears are the gears; they're not going to move, and as long as the chain is somewhat tight, it should be consistent. But when you're physically cranking on something, there's some muscle memory that has to be trained.
Yeah.
To get that revolution where you're not leaning in or leaning back or pushing forward.
Yeah.
So that's the image you're looking at was me really maxing out all the lights because the slightest error in that, it would be smudged.
Yeah.
I mean, it really would with that much going on, that many points and that many lights.
You know something, and again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I've looked at this image. I've been sitting here looking at this now for about 10 minutes, and a thing happens when you look at this photograph, Johnny, and I know you know this because you look at them all the time, but I encourage anyone watching this to go and find some of your Spirograph images and just sit and look at them, because what's happening for me looking at this is I'm falling into it. Like it's playing.
They are dimensional. They are very dimensional. That's why I fell in love with Spirographs as a kid.
Yeah.
You sit there and you watch it develop, and it pulls you into that, to that movement. And now that I'm adding colors and lights, and when I take the jib out and I make it part of an element in a light painting.
Yeah.
It really gives you that vortex. It almost makes you want to, it almost feels like you're being drawn through.
Yeah. Well, it's like the ultimate leading line, isn't it? It's
right,
and it feels a bit fractally.
Yeah.
So talk to me a bit about variation. So obviously, you've got 21 different variations there. And I imagine, mate, that when you start adding different tools onto the Spirograph and different gear ratios, there's a diagram that I'm going to pop up on the screen now that shows a bunch of that sort of variation.
Right. And those are only 3-stage variations.
Yeah.
That's 10 inches below the center of the crank, even with the crank, and 10 inches above. You have all that space above and below that will vary it as well. It's an extremely versatile device.
It feels almost infinite. Like the amount of stuff you could attach to it, you could put all sorts of crazy things on there. And
I have an attachment here for hooking one of my torches to with a universal connector and a blade.
Yeah.
I can do star wheels, and I can hook like the unicorn up and pause out on the points.
Yeah.
And I can make, that image you're looking at, I think has 21 points.
Yep.
Well, if I go down and I use like the unicorn, that would be a 21-point sun,
Yeah.
And then you have all the blur from the motion in between points. You just freeze it as it gets to each full vertical extension.
Yeah. Do you have a, the stuff you post is you don't layer in post-production, like you would do a Spiro and then do some work around it or whatever?
Nope. No, everything you see of mine that's online,
Yeah.
I don't actually remember an art piece. Everything I do is a sample, a small sample of what the tool I do can do.
Yes.
It's not really an art piece. They're standalone, one tool.
Yeah.
I've never, like I said, I don't consider myself an artist.
Sure.
I would rather hand somebody the tool, and I get a lot of pleasure out of watching other people create with something that I twisted my hands or I wired together.
Yeah. And you have a for those watching, Johnny has a very close relationship with Jason over at Light Painting Brushes, who is, Jason and I are very good friends, and he is the oracle of things like painting, as far as
Oh
I'm
yes,
concerned. And
yes.
I don't think, you know, him and I have some plans coming up, but I don't think he's a very humble guy. But it's one of the things I remember you, you know, my orb tool, it was so quick. You were, here's an idea how to do a thing, to put it in your hand, and you designed something, and then you showed me the design, and it just, I love that stuff. It gives me goosebumps when it happens, because we can't always think of everything. And I think, although, mate, you know, you say that you don't consider yourself an artist. I challenge that. I think the difference between someone who, you know, what is an artist? An artist is someone who is creative, has ideas, expresses those ideas through a form, whether that's, you know, in traditional art, it's painting or sculpture. Mate, what I'm looking on the screen here is art. I don't really care what anyone says. It's very pretty. It's super creative.
Well, as an engineer, I'll accept that. Engineering is an art form. I mean, it
Of
really
course it
is.
is. Yeah.
To manipulate your environment is an
Yeah.
art form. When I say I'm not an artist, I'm speaking from a venue of light painters that
Yep.
can go out and sculpt the air, you know, sculpt the darkness.
Yeah.
I can do that, but I have to be very mechanical. You
Yes.
know, even when I'm plotting a job, you know, when I'm plotting an art piece,
Yeah.
it almost has to be by the numbers. I have to visualize it mechanically,
Yeah.
and then set those elements. I can't flow. I hear everybody talk about flow.
Yeah.
For me, everything's chaos. There is no flow. I have to wield it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the sword. I have to, you know, I have to wield it and bend it to my will.
Well, here's a great example, right? So let's think about the unicorn.
Mm.
So, you know, the unicorn is a blade that, now correct me if I'm wrong, this was your idea and Jason took it to market?
Actually, anybody that's ever used one of Jason's unicorns, I twisted.
Yeah.
I
So the
twisted right
thing,
here.
yeah, and I reckon that this is where that connection between, you know, mechanical and the engineering and the technical mind and art very clearly. The idea of, because I've twisted acrylic before, mucking around, and you have to, it's not an easy thing to do, right? It's quite complicated. And so you were able to take the idea of how the final image might look, then translate that across to creating something physical. I love that.
Well, I had to transition it to where I had in my original mind, it was for making feathers. You know, whenever you do feathers with a two-dimensional blade,
yeah,
you know, you can get the trace, but that's what it looks like. It looks like a trace of
you got
feather,
it.
right?
Yeah.
So my thoughts were I had seen other acrylic twists, you know, the unicorn's not unique in that respect.
Sure.
But I wanted to set it up. If you'll notice on the unicorns, they're very specific how they're twisted.
Yes.
The first two levels are almost identical in length, and then the third one is about a third shorter. And I do that intentionally while I'm twisting, because I need that hot spot down at the end, but I need those two long stripes to give me the backbone of the wing. And that's what my original thoughts were. And then and Chris made his Yeti.
Yeah.
I love that so much. I mean, you don't, you know, I want to design something and somebody automatically use it the way I had it in my head.
Yeah.
But the minute I see somebody do something magical with it,
yeah,
that's the whole, you know, that's the whole cool thing about it.
Well, I can see that. I can see that with you. It brings you joy. It brings you so much joy seeing it. And I think that there's an art to that. There must be a real joy. I mean, it's a feeling, I know, obviously, that presenting someone else the opportunity to create. And I think it's wonderful. So, mate, we could chat all day. We want to keep it reasonably short. So back to this particular image. What I would love for people watching this, whether you're because it took me a long time to figure out how these were done, and it wasn't until I saw your device that I got it. Someone who is looking at this and thinking about having a go, is there a way other than creating that quite elaborate thing that you have with the gears and give the watchers a tip if they're wanting to have a try at creating Spiros. Do you have to do it that way, or is there another way?
No, I've actually, I'm sure you've seen the sexy plexi method, where you take the plexiglass and you draw out a cartoon image and then you trace it with a pen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had thought about doing something very similar to that, except actually use a spirograph. You can buy a giant plastic spirograph.
Wow. Yeah.
If you stretched out the acrylic,
Yeah.
put your camera down facing up, you could literally take a pen light.
Yes, you could.
And create almost the same image using a giant spirograph. So no, you don't have to be this. When Jason first did the article on light painting photography.
Yeah.
Shortly thereafter, a couple of people showed me samples of their work.
Yeah.
There's one made out of Legos.
Wow.
The
That
Lego.
so good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, no, my device was intentionally built. Well, after it wasn't what it was originally meant to be, but once I decided spirograph, or as a spirograph machine, I wanted to build a studio piece of equipment that looked like a tripod.
Yeah.
The first one, the oldest one that I know of, and I'm sure there's maybe others.
Yeah.
2014 Elemental Light.
Elemental.
Yes. Made one using almost the same setup out of a 2x4.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're just spinning the 2x4 with a fixed gear in the middle. So no, you don't have to do the engineering that goes into this. Like I said, I wanted this one to be a piece of studio equipment.
Totally.
I wanted it to be small enough that I could compact it and put it in a case and go on location if I needed to. So yeah, there are other options for doing. There's Jason Page did the tutorial where he's hanging a string from a ceiling and putting the light on it and spinning it. It does something very similar.
Very similar. I had that is a lot harder than it looks.
But it's not as mechanically challenging as what the details would be on the jib is what I meant.
Have you exactly. Have you taken your have you gone outside and had a play with your Spirograph machine?
I've actually took it to Colorado.
Yeah.
Now that's a story. They took me down a quarter mile into a gorge at a 45-degree angle with all my gear. That's Dan Roberts, day one. And I've also took it to the Mid-Atlantic meet in 2017, 2018?
Yeah,
at,
cool.
Jason Reinhardt's.
Yep.
We took it out to that meet.
Yeah. Yeah, wicked.
And I take it out around here all the time.
Yeah, nice. Well,
I've got it.
Mate, for the intent of keeping this brief, wicked. That is, the nice thing is that there's so much great footage of you creating these. You've been so kind in being open with the method, with the tool and stuff, and we would have already, but we'll show a whole bunch of that stuff. But one of the things I would really love, if you're watching this, Johnny did a fantastic, quite long and really beautiful podcast with Aaron Colmer that I will link to in the below in the comments. And I really enjoyed that, mate. I watched it. I was stuck from beginning to end. It was so good. And on a personal note, I want to say thanks for just for everything you've given to the community, but personally, like you're always, or not always, but you've shot me so many messages and things with ideas and stuff, and I love them. It always gets me thinking, and I love how open and just kind you are to the community.
Well, I can't take the ideas with me. I'd rather see 1 million people use them than from the die on my workbench.
Yep.
I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me.
No. And Johnny has a bunch of places online to go look, but I think the place I would love people to go and hang out, not only because you spend a lot of time there, but because I think it's a fantastic place anyway, is Light Painting Lab Facebook page, because it's just a wonderful little community of people making and trying and sharing and testing. And mate, you're in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas. Oh my gilly aunt. It's I had a look on the map. I thought Australia was big. You're 700 miles from Dan.
Hmm.
And how many? And
Yeah.
you're probably 700. You're probably 1,000 miles from Jason Page.
Oh, if not, I think it's right at 1300 from here to the Sound. Yeah. Yeah, that's a road trip. It was, let's see, well, from here to Reinhardt's was 16 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a long way. I think I've got a buddy that just here local that light paints with me, but closest one to him would be in Dallas, and that's 5 hours away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
we're driving.
we're a spread out crew.
Yeah. But isn't it the joyous thing? That we have the ability to do this. I think it's one of the. I think we live in such a wonderful age of technology where you and I can chat like this, and everyone can watch it. And imagine being a light painter in 1842. You would have had to. I would have had to send you a letter. I would have written in quill. Oh dear Johnny, light painter of the north of the Americas. Oh, what is thy light one spins? Could you divulge to us your skills and tricks? You'd get that in 2 months, and like it'd be 4 years to put something like this together.
Yeah, but even worse than that, imagine doing a lens swap or something like that with the old box. You had to pull the cap off and expose for a little bit. Then you had to put it in an anchor box that's light proof. Get it in the car, go to the next.
Oh my!
Yeah, we are blessed in an age of being, I don't want to call it instant gratification because there's a lot of pre-work that goes into what we do.
Yeah,
But when we're finally done with the project, we get to flip that camera off and see
yeah,
what we just done.
yeah.
And that's a big draw.
Oh,
For clients, that's an amazing draw.
oh,
People that have no clue what light painting is, I can do something. They think I'm an idiot until I show them the back. And then all of a sudden, hey, it's a party.
well,
You know,
and the other thing, and I truly believe this, it's magic.
it is.
It's magic because magic is something when I did the image breakdown with Dan with the I don't want to spoil this for anyone who hasn't gone and watched that yet, but he does something using light painting that is truly magic. You don't know what's happening. You can see light and stuff, and then you see the final image, and it's mind bending. And
Boom, right.
yeah, it doesn't matter. I still now, I've been doing this for well over 10 years, and I still go out light painting, and there's not many nights that I don't look at the back of the camera myself and get goosebumps. Or I will share something with you, Johnny. I was in the Flinders Ranges not that long ago, and I literally burst into tears when I saw an image that I created because I'd been conceiving it for years, planning it. It took a lot of energy and effort to get there. I wasn't in a very good headspace, and I saw this image, and it was just a culmination of everything that goes into making something magical, and it was just magic.
Well, that's the key to happiness is when you drop your guard and just let it go. And whenever I'm doing a light painting with even experienced light painters, that moment for me is when everybody looks behind the camera and they go, "Whoa!" You're sitting there with experienced painters, and somebody in that crowd goes, "Whoa!" You did it right.
I was, or that moment. Or that moment, or that moment where you jump, and this happens to me heaps because I used to paint alone for so long. Now I'm always with people, hugging people. Oh my God, yeah, oh yeah. These are, hey, anyway, thank you so much, Johnny. Look, you're a gorgeous guy, and I really appreciate you, and I appreciate your time, and everyone that's watching this. Go down the Johnny rabbit hole. You will enjoy the wiggly lights and just how giving this chap is. Thank you, mate.
Appreciate it, bud.
Yeah, we'll be talking.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll be talking again. I know that. Thank you, everyone. And thanks for coming to the School of Light. Beautiful. I hope you enjoyed this visit to the School of Light. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll be adding videos all the time. Head over to the Light Painting Tool Shop at the website. There's a huge array of tools I've made there for you to take on your light painting journey. Peace.